Hello viewers, welcome to this episode of Ebenezer. Have you ever encountered a detour? As we look at the question of vocational journeys, today we want to look at what is it like when what one expects to be their path to their vocational goal, when they encounter a detour. And a detour that feels almost like an accidental detour, without the possibility of getting back en route right away. Hello viewers, welcome to this episode of Ebenezer. Thank you for making this network part of your morning routine. We endeavor to bring guests, to invite individuals who can come and share their stories with us. We had a guest, Bishop Emmanuel Ogot, also my brother, tell us something about himself, his faith tradition, and his service in the church. Today we invite him back to tell us more about himself as a person and focus on his vocational journey, what that looked like. Who was he and what path led him to where he is serving right now as in the office of the bishop. Before he gets here, we are looking at having a detour. I once encountered a detour. I had planned to go visit my nieces who live in Albany, New York. And therefore, it was to be a weekend visit at a time when my niece had just graduated from graduate school. It was also celebrating her birthday. And I thought I will go surprise my nieces. I planned my trip. I printed the maps. At that time, I had a simple basic phone that didn't have capacity for apps like GPS or maps. It was as basic enough just for talk and text. Therefore, it was very important that I map my trip, I print my maps, and I stay to that map. Now, I left very early in the morning at 4 because the plan was to drive on the Canada side of the border during the night because that's a familiar territory. I know that route. And by the time I cross into US, to be at least daybreak, so I can see where I am, I can see the map, I can ensure that I'm en route. So shortly after I crossed into New York, I took a wrong turn by accident. I took a wrong turn and about 15 to 20 minutes noticed that I wasn't seeing what I expected to see at the time. I had driven into US multiple times, different destinations. So I expected to see the highway, a specific highway, and even the landscape to be different. That was not the case. It felt like I was driving into the countryside, deeper and deeper on the country road. So at some point I pulled over, approached someone who was walking and asked if they knew how I could get myself back to the expressway. They gave me instructions, telling me that what I needed to do to stick to that road and make some 2 turns shortly. Both the turns were to be right. And after the second right turn, that I will be able to find a road that will get me back to the highway. Well, either my asking was not clear or I did not fully understand the instructions because I tried to follow what I believed that individual had told me, but didn't get myself to the highway. I was driving more deeper into the country road and it evoked a scary feeling. A detour can sometimes reveal a beautiful scenery that we didn't know before, a beautiful landscape, and evoke a pleasant feeling of, wow, this is great. I'd like to drive some more and see this landscape. But in my case, and in some cases, it can evoke that feeling of fear. I'm getting lost. I'm driving into the unknown and not sure how I'll get myself back en route. At some point, there was a gas station in a small town that I pulled over to fill up my tank and used that opportunity to call my daughter back in Canada and gave her the name of the town, the name of the street, and asked her to try and locate where I was on Google and give me instructions of how I can find my way back to the highway from where I was. Called both my niece and my daughter, and between the 3 millennials, with the help of Google, they located where I was. They gave me instructions of how to get myself back to this highway, and with their instructions, I, yes, found myself back into the highway, continued my trip to my destination, to my relief. Detours can be interesting, well-managed detours, even accidental detours. It's important when someone has found themselves in such situation to know that there is a way back to their route. On my vocational journey, at some point early in life when I had determined that I was interested in the teaching profession, I knew that I needed to, after my elementary education, to go through high school, will need to enroll in teachers college. But having dropped out of school in the first year of high school, it felt like my road to my vocational goal had come to a dead end, without prospects of getting back to the road. Not just a detour that will get me back, just a dead end. However, by God's grace, He had a plan and eventually got me back into a path where He had called me to be. Now, that's a story for another day. Today, I want to invite back my brother, Bishop Emmanuel to tell us something about his professional journey, the path it took, and how it brought him to where he is right now, serving as the Bishop of Nyando. I'll see you on the other side of the break. Ebenezer. Welcome back, viewers. As promised, we are coming back again with our guest who came back after a previous episode where he introduced himself and the church where he's serving. Today, we want to really get to know who is Bishop Emmanuel Owuor and what is the path that he took to get him to where he's serving right now in the office of the bishop. Welcome back, Bishop Ogot.
Thank you.
It's good to have you all the way from Kenya.
Yes.
You'll tell us where you are. Just introduce yourself and tell us where you are and something unique to yourself.
Yes, Emmanuel Ogot is my name. I'm serving in the office of the Bishop, Diocese of Nyando. That is in Western Kenya, Kisumu County. I'm serving in the ministry called the Church of Christ in Africa, which I described the previous time. And I believe that I serve the overall universal body of Christ. And that is my calling, which I really appreciate. Okay, Nyando is in Western Kenya. And Nyando is one out of the 9 dioceses of the Church of Christ in Africa. It is in a rural environment where the main activity are subsistence agriculture in this particular part of the country. Yes.
Thank you. Now, tell us something about your own family, your family where you serve, but just who else is part of Bishop Emmanuel Ogot as an individual?
Yes, I am married to Millicent Akinyi Ogot since 6th of August 1994.
And I attest to that. I was in that wedding.
Yes, and God has blessed us with 2 adult children, Timothy and Barry.
Surprise. Allow me to interject. Timothy is one of the individuals who helped me with tech support in these videos.
Yes, he's gifted in areas of this modern technology stuff. And I thank God because even when the churches were closed down due to the COVID-19, he also helped me greatly to spread the gospel through other alternative channels which were available then. They have been part of my ministry ever since the beginning. And of course, if I reflect on my calling into the ministry, I will start off, first of all, by saying that if God could have given me what I wanted what I had asked for.
Mm-hmm.
I had prayed. There are certain things which I had asked for. I had talked to my God in prayers and asked for several things.
Mm-hmm.
If God could have given me what I had asked for, by now I could have been dead. That is the major weakness of us human beings. We don't know what is good for us, because what you want is fame, you want wealth, you want material things.
Yeah.
But God looks at you beyond all those things. Then God gives you something else you never asked for.
Yeah.
God gave me this ministry, although I never asked for it. Yeah, I was fairly interested in some well-paying occupations, being a lawyer.
Exactly.
And being an auditor. And of course, I was looking at the material benefit that comes with it.
Yeah.
And that is why I've always testified, even in my area of ministry, that God never gave me what I asked for. And if He could have given me what I wanted, by now, my life would have been terribly bad.
We are
because
grateful.
As a human being, you this, but God knows that if you are given this, you will never serve Him.
Thank you for that's insightful. We ask for things based on our limited knowledge and based also on our needs, our physical needs, what we think comfort, worldly pleasure. But no, God knows what to give. So God called you into this path.
Yes.
Who or what influenced your decision as you move into this professional path? Were there mentors? Did you know? Sometimes we say the call, or when God is leading you, He doesn't tell you the destination from the beginning. As human beings, we want to know the exact path, the exact road, where it will lead, where I'll take the exit. But it only reveals a little bit at a time. So who or what influenced you along the way or mentored you?
First of all, I was the least qualified for this position. There were some people who are more qualified than me. But again, if people like Archbishop Emeritus Habakkuk Abogno, he played a critical role in persuading me into taking up the calling. Just like Samuel and Eli, it took the priest Eli, regardless of his relationship with God. Nevertheless, God used him to open up the child Samuel and to explain to him that he was being called.
By the way,
called in the ministry. Yes.
Go ahead.
And I have never shied away from saying I was the least qualified. After I was mentored by Habakkuk Abogno, and I refused to be consecrated as bishop because by then I was also having serious health challenges within my family. My wife was in intensive care unit, and even the doctors who were treating her had given up. One of the doctors had disappeared. He had switched off his phone. He said he doesn't want anything to do with that patient again. Wow. And I thought, why should I go and present myself for consecration when I'm having such a serious health condition within my family? But I thank God because of the people who came and they surrounded me and they convinced me and they persuaded me, and I present myself for consecration on that particular day.
Thank you. We can't go into it elaborately, but we want to try and get another time, another session to come back. And who knows, only if possible, no pressure. If possible, we can have Millicent with us. But we'll just leave it as that and say, hopefully, because our viewers, myself, all of us would like to hear more about God's intervention, God's work, the way God led you. Some people may be going through a journey that is similar. Now, if I may ask, what would you consider an Ebenezer moment in your vocational journey? There may be multiple, but if you are just to touch on one and leave us with one Ebenezer moment.
That is the moment I opened up and I say, thank you, God. Here am I, send me.
Yeah.
And I accepted the calling and came into a rural place where there was no electricity, there was no running water, there was no electric cooker or gas cooker, and I had no house help. So I started cooking for myself.
Wow.
Throughout the years, even during the time I was working at Cusco, I never cooked for myself.
For yourself.
Yeah, so I was brought here in Kigoche. This place is called Kigoche. It is deep inside. From Kisumu town, it's about 70 kilometers deep into the rice fields and sugarcane plantation. And there is, if you look to the right and to the left, there are no civilization, there are no DSTVs, there is nothing. And thank God, because He has kept me here, and He has up to this day. You know, of course, there was the change of climate, and at some point I was so sick, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, I remember.
In fact, I dressed up because I said I'm a senior citizen. I don't want people who are coming to pick me in the morning to find me naked. So I got my best shirts and I put it on, and I put on my best trouser. And then I just sat there waiting for the chariot of fire to come for me. And you know, this chariot of fire, when you wait for it, it doesn't come.
It doesn't come. Yeah.
So it was later on, it was diagnosed as extreme allergy. Saying it could have been some insect, some kind of a spider, which had come into contact with, or something like that. And I call it Ebenezer because from that moment, that is when I realized that life, the line between life and death is so thin.
Yeah.
Is so thin.
Yeah.
And it is not something which we are supposed to take for granted. We should thank God for every second that He gives us in this world. And I really appreciate even the support I got from the villagers who came with whatever they can. And they said, now, God's servant is in a critical condition. Some of them were not even from my church. They were from other churches. But nevertheless, they helped me, and I was taken to hospital, and I just thank God. That is when I realized. And up to this day, I normally say, God always has a way of telling you that though you think you are suffering, you are not. You are better off than any other person.
Though you think you are alone at the ends of the earth.
Yes.
We bring back that interconnectedness of the church in Kenya, the Church of Jesus Christ, from different denominations, different traditions. And when they come together like that, across traditional boundaries, to rally around one of their own, then we really see the Church of Christ at its best.
At its best, as it was originally intended to be.
Yeah.
And of course, it's still my hope and prayer that just the phrase which I used in our previous session, that we may just spare some minutes to look through the window. Maybe somebody's outside there. And you can just stretch your arm through the window. If you can't go in through the door, just stretch your arm through the window and give them a morsel, even some leftovers from your previous meal. And always save a soul in one way or another. And I've come to appreciate that, by the way. And I can say that although initially I said these people are being unkind to me, but later on I realized it was actually a learning process that God was taking me through. How can they take me to Kigoche when my wife is still unwell? How can they pick me from the streets of Nairobi to the village in Kigoche? How can they expect me to go and start cooking? You know, those kind of
a city boy right from your birth and grown up and integrated into the city life, and suddenly transplanted and dropped in the middle of the most interior rural place.
Yes.
And we are going to 2 years later, you're still standing.
I'm still serving.
By God's grace.
Yes. And
your prayer request, Bishop?
My prayer request is, brethren from across the globe, please do remember the Church of Jesus Christ in the continent of Africa, which is struggling to retain the identity of Christ within a hostile environment and within limited resources with shoestring budgets, we are able to keep Christ's name within the villages of rural Nyando and Kegoche and Urudi and Miwani, all the way up to Koru, where I'm ministering up to the foot of the Nandi Hills. And sometimes you have to travel we walk on foot for 5 hours. You have to walk on foot. You know, even if you have a vehicle, it won't help because the terrain is so unfriendly. Yeah. Even the vehicles cannot go.
You and just park it there and walk.
The day before yesterday, I went with my car, I left it somewhere, then I had to walk for 5 hours to the destination I was going. And it is extremely challenging, but we thank God because God has a plan in everything.
That's a beautiful prayer request. And that it's one thing if somebody represents or gives a report and try to summarize what's happening, but it is really more, it makes more sense and it's more clear when we hear it directly from someone on the ground.
Yes.
We can try to paint a picture, but no, it doesn't come any close to capture the actual situation. So thank you for making time.
Yes.
And using your phone at a place where even the data that you have to turn on to use is costly. Sometimes it's deciding between paying for data and having breakfast.
Exactly.
So thank you for the sacrifice of using your phone in that place and just the effort it took and the resources you had to tap into having this conversation with us.
I'm humbled. I also appreciate that you gave me an opportunity to bring out what is happening on the ground here. And of course, so many people don't know. Somebody can ask you, you mean the Christians there cannot support you? You walk into their homesteads, then you find that they need your support more than you need their support.
Yes. I fully understand.
Yes, and therefore, I thank God for the opportunity actually to bring out some of these things which so many people may be aware of.
To the light. Bishop Emmanuel Ogot, we are honored that you joined us today, and we pray and hope that you can come again and tell us what God is doing. And we'd like to know, some of us can't come there. Many of our viewers may not have capacity or ability to get there, but to connect with someone there and be part of the ministry there is great. And this is the only way we can do that, by highlighting our stories. So thank you for being part of that.
Exactly. I'm so humbled. Thank you. Have a blessed evening.
And you too. Ours is morning, yours is evening. So let's just say, have a good day.
Yeah, it is around 5:25.
Yeah, 9:22 a.m. and God bless you.
Amen.
Welcome back and thank you for hanging around. We've been looking at this topic of vocational journey and have invited different guests of different background, different professions, serving in different disciplines, to reflect on their vocational journey, what the journey has been like, how they knew what their occupation should be. Some of them have an occupation and an employment, a source of income, but also they have a volunteer opportunity and position where they are sharing their gifts and talents, making a difference. It was good to hear the story from Bishop of Nyando, Emmanuel, talking about what he thought at some point was to be his vocational journey, the choices he made, the profession he felt were the ideal for his life, and how he looks back and thinks he was not seeing the broader picture. And he's grateful that God saw the broader picture and brought in mentors, individuals who encouraged him, who spoke with him, who prayed over him, and who were instrumental as he was making the decision to take on the path that brought him where he is. I too experienced what felt like a detour towards my vocational goal. Early in life, in my mind, I felt at the time that teaching was a vocation I would explore. I had looked at different paths towards the vocational end, and teaching seemed to appeal to me. However, having dropped out of school in the first year of high school, it felt like the road to my vocational goal had come to a dead end. It's one thing when a path we are taking to our vocational end takes a detour, gets us off the path, and within time eventually may get us back onto the path. In some cases, it's an unwanted, unexpected exit. We may altogether take an exit off that highway and find ourselves in a totally different path, leading to a totally different profession. Some people are right at a point where they are contemplating the path, the profession, the journey to take. I hope that if you're one of those people, if you're at a point where you're contemplating, thinking about your vocational journey, that you're finding something meaningful, that you're about to dedicate your adult life to doing, something that will make a difference both in your life, in the lives of your immediate family and community, and make a difference in the world. Some have been in that journey for a while, and probably it's time that it's taking different paths. I hope and pray that they are both productive and helpful. My vocational journey has led me to where I am today. And I don't think that's the end of it. There may still be detours along the way. There may still be exits that are yet to be encountered. As long as I know who is leading that path, the one who has a hold of the steering wheels, I'm ready to follow, explore and find other new paths and areas within the profession where I can make a difference and serve God's people and contribute to the efforts of many who are working in different professions, different disciplines, different parts of the world to a common goal. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of all of us at Preach the Word Network, thank you for making this network part of your morning routine. On behalf of the Ebenezer team, thank you for being part of our morning programs. Take some time. Think about your vocation. Think about your life. Think about the contributions that you're making to your family, your community, your faith community, and the world. And celebrate the one who determined, ordained your steps, determined the path that you are to take towards your vocational goal. Take some time and share those stories. Mark your stones of help. Have a gentle week. Ebenezer.